Today I'm going to be taking you through a quick all-round workout. You won't need any equipment for this, so we'll get started into standing. So standing with your toes pointing forwards, hip distance apart, rock your weight forwards into your toes and back into your heels, and then find that nice mid position between big toe, little toe and heel. Then I'm going to get you to lock your knees out so they're nice and straight, but then release them so they're nice and soft. Thighs are nice and relaxed, but knees are still straight. Then we're going to go through your pelvic tilts. So imagine your hips are a bucket of water. I want you to tip the water out through the front of the bucket and then out through the back of the bucket. So you'll go both directions here, and I want you to make sure that your knees and your ribs are staying nice and still. So it is just a little pelvic tilt. And then find that nice mid position where you feel your bucket is level. From there, relax your arms. You can do a couple of shoulder rolls around. Let the shoulder blades just hang nice and heavy over your ribs. They just drop down. Feel like your collarbones are smiling to the front of the room. And take a nice deep breath in, nice and wide into the sides of the ribs. As you breathe out, I want you to think of the ribs just drawing together and down, disappearing into the abdomen, but you're keeping the collarbones open and smiling at the same time. From here, we'll now take it into your footwork series. So you'll bend your knees, keeping your pelvis in neutral and your back nice and straight. Float your arms up, keep the shoulders down, and then we'll lift our heels nice and high. Then straighten the legs and then lower back through the heels and the arms. So sliding down an imaginary wall with our back nice and straight. We then lift the heels, straighten the legs and lower through. And I want you to continue through this movement. As we're doing our footwork series, we're focusing on our pelvic stability. So you're making sure that the pelvis stays in neutral, and it's as though your sitting bones are just sliding down towards your heels. And then the spine just stays nice and still on top. So we don't lean forwards like we would with a squat movement. So it looks similar, but it's very different to a squat. And then check that your shoulders are nice and relaxed. As you float your arms up, you keep the shoulder blades pressing down so we don't start to lift through our shoulders. And now I want you to think about your ankle alignment, so you make sure that the ankles aren't rolling out to the sides. So you lift the heels and push them straight forwards. And then last one in this direction before changing over into reverse. So from here we go up to tiptoes, bend through the knees, lower the heels and then come back through. It's quite different going the opposite way, as we can actually bend our knees quite far when we've got our heels lifted, so you've got to make sure then as you drop the heels back down, we keep the pelvis in neutral and we don't start to send our sitting bones backwards, so we keep the sitting bones straight over the top of the heels. So you want to think of keeping a really similar range as you did with the first direction. Last one here, so just going for one more, and then release. And then I'll bring you into tightrope stance, so one foot in front of the other. Soften into your knees, hands can either rest onto hips or down by your sides, whatever you prefer. And then when you're ready, you're going to close your eyes and keep this position. So depending on whether you're on a soft surface at home or quite a hard surface, will give you a little bit of advantage being on a hard surface. So you'll see it might be a little bit wobblier if you're on a soft surface. Then open your eyes. From here, we're then going to bend into our knees, sink down as low as you can, trying to keep the weight equal between front and back leg. And then squeezing up, squeezing our bottom muscles and the back of our legs here. So imagine that you're sinking into quicksand. We sink as low as we can and then rise up. So we'll go just for a couple more here. And then we're going to attempt to do this with our eyes closed. If it's too difficult, you can either go with one eye closed, or you can have a little finger on the wall next to you, surface or something, just to give you a little bit of help. So when you're ready now, going down into your sinking sand, eyes closed, and then rising back up. Take your time. You'll feel the wobble in the ankle. Let them do their thing. Let the knees absorb it, so be nice and soft into the knees. Squeeze through the back of the legs to come back through. And then relax and open your eyes. Well done. We'll change to the leg. So swapping over your lead leg. So front and back leg. We'll just change through. Staying nice and tall to begin with. You soft into the knees. And then just closing your eyes. And then when you're ready, open your eyes. We're now going to sink down nice and low and then squeeze all the way back up. So I want you to focus on squeezing the back of the legs. Both bottom muscles will tighten. You'll feel it slightly more into the back foot side. And then when you're ready, after this next one, we're going to attempt it with our eyes closed. So closing the eyes, sinking down, taking your time. Allow the ankles to do their thing, they'll be wobbly, and let the knees absorb it. So from pelvis upwards, you should be nice and still, nice and controlled. Let's go for one more. And then relax through from there. Now I'm going to go into some roll down. So I'm going to go to the end of my mat because we'll eventually be walking out to hands and knees position. So toes pointing forwards again, back into that neutral alignment. So weight is equal over the feet, knees are straight but soft, pelvis is in neutral. A couple of shoulder rolls to begin with, let the shoulder blades just drop nice and heavy, and then when you're ready, bring your chin to your chest and then slowly start to curl one vertebrae at a time all the way down. Just take a little watch of your pelvis. I want you to keep it still for as long as you can. You should be hollowing up through the abdominals to get that stretch into the low back, and then you'll go all the way down and just go nice and floppy like a ragdoll. Check there's no tension into the neck or the shoulders. When you're ready from here, we're going to roll around to the sides into our pendulum swings. So just a little sway through the hips. Imagine you've got a little cat's tail, you're just going to wag it left and right. Let the stretch just feel really easy through the waist a little bit here when we go into pendulum swings. And then come back to the middle, and then we'll reverse it and come back up. So you're going to squeeze the bottom muscles, tuck the tailbone, roll the pelvis all the way back, keep the spine nice and curly. Once the pelvis comes all the way back, then just feel how easy it is just to restack one vertebrae at a time all the way through. When you get to the top, go for a couple more shoulder rolls, and then off we go again into our next roll down. So chin to chest, feel the stretch in every segment as we do this. Rounding through the spine, going nice and floppy, and then into pendulum swings around to each side, and then coming to center, bring your hands down to the mats. If you need to bend your knees, then do, and we're going to walk it straight out to a hands and knees position next. So once you're in your hands and knees, make sure the wrists are underneath the shoulders, knees are underneath the hips. We'll start with your cat stretch. So you'll tuck your tailbone underneath you, round up into angry cat. You want to lift the belly button as if there's a hot candle there. Squeeze the inner thigh, squeeze the bottom, get an extra bit of tuck, and then release. Roll the pelvis away. Feel like you're allowing your belly button to drop towards the floor and tailbone goes up towards the ceiling. And then as if you're a puppy being picked up by the scruff of the neck, you're going to push away from the floor, lifting high. Pull the shoulders away from the ears. Keep the neck long. So you've tucked the chin in. Imagine you're holding a peach underneath the chin, but you're getting that push up away from the floor. And then reverse it. Go back into your angry cat. So we're spiking our fur out, opening out our spine as much as we can. Bring the chin to the chest. Tuck the tailbone, and then release. Roll the opposite way. Arch the back. Extend all the way up to the ceiling. Think of a cat stretching with their arms forwards, that nice big reach. You want to feel the stretch through the upper back, pulling the shoulder blades away from the ears and widening your collarbones. And then come back through into your angry cat once more. We're just going to go for one more each way now. So this is your last one here in angry cat. And then we roll away through into a happy cat. Arch the back and lift. I want you to really focus on the upper part of your back. So really check you've pushed up away from the floor. You've got energy coming from the hands. Now you're going to keep the happy cat in your upper back, but then just think with your tailbone, you're just going to slightly send the tailbone away and lift through the abdominals, making sure we're not rounding the back. We're now flattening the back. So we've got that little lift through the tummy and lift through the chest. When you're ready from here, we'll take it into Superman's. So opposite arm and leg are going to slide away across the mat, and then you'll float them up, keeping this nice straight back position, and then draw it straight back into the center and change to the other side. So opposite arm and leg reaching away, extend and lift, and then draw all the way back through. I want you to feel as though you're constantly lifting the tummy and the chest. You're checking the back stays nice and stable, but then you're working through the opposite shoulder and hip to get the lift using your glutes and your upper traps and lower traps here. I'm going to feel an engagement as you float the arm up as though you're trying to squeeze your shoulder blade towards your back jeans pocket. And then check that you're trying to lock the knee out and then lift, squeezing the glutes. One more to each side. And then draw it all the way back in. And then take a little rest. So we'll go into child's pose. So knees go nice and wide, drop the chest down, forehead onto the mat, and just go nice and heavy and relaxed through your abdominals and your back here. And then rolling all the way back through. We're now going to go into a little bit of a plank series next. I'm going to do this from my wrist, but if you find that you're struggling with your wrists, feel free. You've got options to go up onto a fist so you have a neutral wrist alignment, or you can go all the way down to elbows, so just depending on what works for you with this one. So again, either wrists or elbows underneath the shoulders. You can get that nice push up. Think of the lift of the chest, lift of the abs. When you're ready, tuck your toes underneath you and you're just going to float the knees just away from the mat. Imagine your spine is now that nice tabletop, so keeping it long. So from the crown of your head, you're being pulled one way, and from your tailbone, you're being pulled the opposite way. Squeeze the shoulder blades away from the ears, get your lats to engage. Check you're still lifting the chest, you're pushing away from the floor, and you feel the abdominals doing the work, so you've not lifted using your back muscles here. Eyeline should be looking down between the fingertips. You've got that long neck position, so head shouldn't be forwards here. You should make sure you've got the length all the way through. So you're holding your imaginary peach. And then release, lower the knees back down, take a quick rest. Now we're going to go back up again, so you'll float the knees just up, and then now we're going to step one foot back, step the other leg back, and then hold your plank position. So engaging up through the abs, up through the chest, shoulders away from ears. Nice and strong. And then start to go into leg pull. So we slide one toe away, float the leg up, keeping our back nice and still. Lower down, change to the other leg. So you slide the toe away as far as you can. You lengthen the leg as if it's being pulled away, hence the name leg pull. And it's not about the lift, it's really about the reach. We're checking that we're lengthening and we're not arching our back to lift the leg. So tummy muscles should tighten even more as you get the lift, and then feel your glutes doing the work to lift the leg. One more to each side. And then when you're ready, release, go back into your child's pose once more. Take a nice little rest here. And then we're going to come all the way onto our tummy and go into a swan stretch next. So, lowering yourself all the way down, you're going to rest your forehead down in front. Hands are going to go out into your W shape, so I tend to have hands wider than the mat, elbows towards the waist. Tuck the tailbone, lift through the abdominals, and then when you're ready, keeping the neck long so you tuck the chin in, you'll float the head up, eyeline stays down, and then slowly we're going to peel one vertebra at a time up away from the mat. So here I want you to focus on pulling the shoulders away from the ears, keeping the neck long and abdominals staying tight. Feel every segment lifting through. Keep the elbows down for as long as you can, and then when you can't keep them down anymore, then you'll push all the way through. If you're struggling with your range, if you feel that you've had to lift the shoulders up, you can take the hands further in front. That'll help you if you need a smaller range. Otherwise, if you can go a little bit further, you'll walk the hands back. When you get to the top, push the chest towards the wall behind you, lift up and squeeze the shoulder blades down. Then when you're ready, you'll bend into the elbows, lower the elbows down, and then feel the spine stretching and lengthening forwards over the mat as we come all the way back through. So in your own time again, you're going to lift, keep the crown of the head lengthening to the wall away from you. The neck stays nice and long. Slowly, one vertebrae at a time, we peel up, keeping the elbows down. See how far we can go with the elbows down, and then we'll push through and extend all the way into our swan. Pull the chest to the wall behind you, keep the neck long, and then when you're ready, bending the elbows, lowering from the elbows, a bit like a tricep dip. Keep the chest open, and then slowly we release all the way forwards. So we have 2 more here. Just take your time, enjoy the stretch. When you get to the top, if you want to hold it, then do. I want you to feel that you get the stretch equally through all parts of your backs, especially the upper back. Focus on between the shoulder blades, really getting a stretch upwards. It shouldn't be all in the lower back. If you are feeling in the lower back, either don't go quite as high, or take the hands forwards, or draw in the abdominals. You've got a few options to take it out of the lower back here. This is your last one. Feel like you've got a piece of string pulling you up from the crown of the head towards the ceiling. Open the chest, and then lower all the way back. And lengthen the spine forwards. And then release. So we'll push back up, and we're going to go just into an angry cat just to counter it. So one angry cat here. Tuck the tailbone under, round all the way through. Get a nice big stretch towards the ceiling. And then release. Okay, back to a hands and knees position. We're going to go through a little bit of glute work next. So wrists underneath shoulders, knees underneath hips. Nice back position. We've lifted the chest, we've lifted the abs. When you're ready, you're going to slide one leg back, and we're going to lift and lower from here. So it's a small lift and lower. I want you to focus really on the core and the pelvis. So as the leg lifts, you make sure the belly button doesn't drop. We don't want to be shifting our weight over to our knee that's down below us. You want to make sure your pelvis is still nice and steady and still, as if it's got a little spirit level resting on it. You keep the bubble in the middle. Try and lock the knee. Get the work to come from the glutes here. And then when you're ready, we'll release the leg back in, change to the other side. So reset yourself, stretch your way, and then lifting and lowering. Feel the work coming from the glutes. Squeeze the bottom to do the lift. Keep the knee nice and locked. Abs drawing in on every lift. Stay with me, 5 more. And then draw all the way back in, and then we're going to go into your fire hydrant. So you keep your knee at a 90-degree bend now, and now we're going to take the leg out to the side and then draw it back into the middle. So squeezing out and then drawing back in. As you do this, you want to focus on the pelvis, still with that spirit level on, staying nice and still. So imagine it's got a tray of your favourite drinks resting on your hips. Keep the tray of drinks nice and still, but take the knee out as high towards the ceiling as you can. We'll go for 3 more. And then change to the other side. Double check you've still lifted the chest, we've not lost our posture. Neck is nice and long. Changing through to the other side, keeping the pelvis nice and steady. Squeezing the glute, turning the knee out. You should feel as you lift the knee as high as you can, your abdominals have to work to help give you that pelvic stability. So feel like you're tightening another notch on your jeans belt on every lift. Check you've not lost your posture. You're still pushing up away from the floor with your upper back. Neck stays nice and long. And then last two. And then release. Now we're going to go up into a side kneeling position. So you come all the way up into your knees. You'll take one hand out to the side. You'll stretch one leg straight out. I want you to lift through the waist as much as you can. Keep yourself square on to the side here. And then we're going to lift up and down with our leg here. So as you're doing the lift, I want you to feel it comes from the crease of the hip. It's a little bit more challenging in a side kneeling position. If you struggle with cramp at all on this one, you can always do this lying straight on your side on the mat. And we'll aim for 3 more. And then release. Now we're going to come back up into side kneeling. We're going to work on our obliques a little bit now. So keep the legs straight out to the side. You're going to flex the toes forwards, push the heel away. Arms are going to come in. We're going to cross the arms at the front. Then when you're ready, you're going to go over to the side into a big side mermaid reach. Open the arms through and then come all the way back and cross them at the front. So big reach away and come back through. I want you to take a nice breath out as you go away. Strong breath out. Try and stay square on, so make sure you've not rotated. This top hand should be coming over the top and your arm should be over your ear as you reach over and reach as far as you can. We'll go for 2 more. Last one. And release. And now we'll change through to the other side. So coming back into your side kneeling position, take your hand out, check the hands underneath the shoulder, you've lifted through the waist, you stretch the top leg away. Then when you're ready from there, you're going to lift up and down. I tend to always do these lifts with either the knee in neutral or slightly turned inwards. It does mean that you get a little bit more glute med work and you don't have your hip flexors taking over and helping. Check you are feeling it coming from the side or the back of the hip here and all from the crease of the hip with the movements. Staying square on, check you've lifted away from the floor, your lower obliques are still working. Stay with me for 5 more. And then release, come all the way back through. Step the legs straight out, flex the toes, push the heel away. Draw in through the abs, cross the arms over, and then into our mermaid reach. It is big side stretch over, and then come all the way back through, cross the arms again. Take your time into the reach. Try and enjoy the stretch here. We'll go for 2 more. Last one. Come all the way back through and then relax. We'll just go into a quick hip flexor stretch to finish. So still in kneeling, take 1 foot in front of you, tuck the tailbone under, push the hips forwards and just try and open out through this hip flexor by getting more tuck. So the more you pull in through the tummy and the glutes, the more you'll feel this stretch here. And then bring your hands down either side of the foot. Tuck the back toes under, and then we're going to press up into a gentle hamstring stretch. A little bit like a down dog with the back leg, so we're going to push the heel down. You might get a bit of a calf stretch there. And then bend the knees, come back through. We'll change sides. So from there, swapping over with your kneeling leg. Tuck the tailbone under, pull the abs and the tummy in, and the glutes. Push the hips forwards. Feel the hip flexor, just getting that nice release. The more you tuck, the more stretch you'll get. And then bring your hands down either side of the foot. Tuck the back toes, and then come all the way through into a nice stretch here. So try and get the back calf by pushing the heel down. Try and straighten the front knee out so you get the hamstring. And then when you're ready, you're going to step the back leg into the front leg. Go nice and heavy back into your ragdoll hang. Do a couple of pendulum swings around to the sides. And then when you're ready, tuck the tailbone under, roll the pelvis all the way back, keeping the spine curly. Restack one vertebrae at a time on top. Think about your posture again, so toes pointing forwards, hip distance apart. Knees are nice and soft, pelvis is in neutral. Lift the collarbones up, let them smile, but let the ribs just drop down. And then just let yourself feel nice and relaxed. A couple of shoulder rolls. Feel like a healing balloon is picking you up, lengthening you out, but just soften into the knees. And then relax, you're all done. Well done.